Hi there and welcome to Chita Diaries. So it's Monday evening. I was almost in the process of filming a video of sorts showing you how I style or recreate a box braid, style with these braids. And I was watching the Red Table Talk. So it's literally one of the only things I actually tune onto Facebook for these days. But it's Jada Pinkett Smith's show and it's really, really good. Though today's was quite confusing and a mess, but like the other episodes, like even from the previous season, were really, really good. And today's, for me, looked a bit messy, but they touched on some points that kind of triggered me, and I felt, I could talk here on my YouTube channel. Not really react to it, but it was basically a discussion from the point of view at first of Black women or women of color in America. By the way, women of color in America refers to everybody or women who aren't white, so everybody else who isn't white just falls into this category as women of color, and how they relate with white women and whatever issues or trauma or anger they have, towards the prejudice they may have, been shown by white women. So it just made me think, right? It made me think. And even though what I'm about to say may not necessarily be in line with what that video was about, but like I said, it just triggered me and it made me think of ways slightly differently. And then something else happened earlier during the day where, like I saw this article on someone's comment and I laughed at the guy thinking he was ridiculous, right? And then I had this chat and I was laughing, with some people in a private WhatsApp group. And then later on, after watching that video, it made me realize that even though I was laughing at the guy for being, quite racist, and he, by the way, the article now that I read earlier on was, a Black Zambian man talking and just complaining about how racist white people are, but the way he said it, just made him seem just as angry or as racist. But yeah, reading that comment later on made me laugh and I thought he was being ridiculous. But later on, after watching that video and doing my own self-reflection, I realized, that there's some things that I want to talk on. And I know I've been rambling, so let me just get to the point. But yes, just some context for my Western viewers, my American viewers, or maybe even, no, it's different in the UK, like it's not, or is it, you could correct me, do people actually have, do you actually differentiate between, black, white, mixed race, whatnot? Because I know in America, like if you aren't white, you just everything else, you're a person of color, whereas where I live in Zambia, or just most of Africa in general, because of colonialism and whatnot, it was quite different. There was different tiers. There was distinctively white, there was distinctively Asian, there was distinctively black, and there was distinctively mixed race or biracial. So we, on the other hand, in America, white people are the majority. In Zambia, black people are the majority. And for most of Africa anyways, black people are the majority, but they're very well-established communities of Caucasians, Asian, and even like a whole, culture of mixed race people. Like they exist, and for many years, and even now to some extent, there's this tier in society where white is at the very top, even though they're the minority, and then there's Asians and biracial people. I'm not really sure what the system was, and then black people at the bottom. And that's what happened during colonialism, and it still hasn't really been shed off completely. And with that being said, I would let you guys know, since you don't really know my life, but for part of my primary school education as well as part of my secondary school education, by the way, I was born and raised in Zambia. I've been here literally my whole life. I attended school for part of primary school, part of secondary school. I went to an international school, so it was kids of literally all races, and we all grew up in this little bubble if I can call it that, for many years. And when you enter that environment as a child, and you live and basically grow up with your peers up until graduation, it was definitely a bubble. Were we aware that we're different races? Definitely. Okay, we had cliques, people bonded more with their own, but for the most part, it was like a typical, like American high school. There's the jocks, the nerds, the this and that. It wasn't necessarily, race, but for the most part, like I can't pretend that some races didn't gravitate towards each other, but still we lived in unity for the most part. And being in that bubble, even outside of school, like we'd hang out, we'd chill, and it was normal, you wouldn't think much of it. But when I graduated from high school, I went to a Zambian college, Zikas. This isn't me shouting out Zikas like, hey, like my time at Zikas is something that wasn't too pleasant. But anyways, anyway, I did go to Zikas, which is a majority Zambian school, like mostly Zambian. And then after Zikas, I did eventually, enter formal employment in Zambian companies, predominantly Zambian, black Zambians, who may not have had the same background as mine with regards to race relations, if I can call it that. Please don't hang me yet. Let me finish explaining myself. But basically, I grew up in a bubble. Was I aware of racism? Definitely. I'm sure there were times like here and there, if I really think back, maybe not even school, just outside of school, just real life where you'd encounter these things. But with regards to my friends and how I saw myself, okay, I think I've always been quite confident with my blackness from childhood. Of course, there's times where you wish you had different this or different that, but for the most part, I think, I've been pretty confident in my blackness. What my issue was with regards to relations with, peers or people of a different race. So even so in on the red table talk with Jada, she mentioned women of color versus white women, but in our context here, it's literally black women versus non-black women, or black people versus non-black people, because even though we are the majority in terms of numbers, with regards to being respected and having this, prestige bestowed upon us, or even just being profiled, if you are non-black, but there's just this general thing where people, give more importance to you. So it's only, to be honest, I think it's only today that I've realized what my issue has been. Because for the longest time, I like to complain about people, like maybe I could go to a restaurant with non-black friends, and the waitresses would be nicer to them, or just have better customer services. It could be any situation in life where my non-black friends get more attention. And then what upsets me is how, it could be other non-black people treating them that way, or fellow black people putting them on a pedestal. Like I've always complained about that and just been aggressive and angry, but it got to a point today where we're supposed to look inside. Well, like what was discussed in that video, we need to look on the inside as well and question ourselves and our thoughts and our motives and how we actually feel, because sometimes we could be just as ignorant, or just as racist, or just as prejudiced, or just as closed off and cliquey. And yeah, that's how I felt. This is so rambly, but let me try and mesh it in, and make this something that we can actually discuss. Let me add one story time, just to give what I'm about to say some context. So, like I said, I grew up in this little bubble where, I had classmates, friends of different races. And then I grew up, left that school, went to an all-black college, went to work in almost all-black companies, and I got to, see this perspective and almost assimilate into it, where I know what black people or what black Zambians are saying about non-black Zambians, and we can be so racist. Like we can be so racist and we say the most racist things, but then there's times where like you'd be in the office or in class, like you just sit there and you can't really comment on it because you don't want anybody to think you're an Uncle Tom, so you just sit down and take it. But then as time went by and I realized that, okay, yeah, everybody now just wants to do it for the culture, like you want to be black. I obviously jumped onto that bandwagon, And I've realized that certain patterns and certain choices have evolved as I have gotten older. And today I realized that I admitted it and I was very ashamed. And okay, let me get to the point. So I said I was going to give one story time of what, I would think about this issue. So I will give one story time. Yes, I did go to a majority black college because it's very black. I don't know about now, like maybe it's like a whole bunch of races, but back then it was majority black with like a handful of other races there. But I ended up befriending a girl who was Caucasian, and we've been friends for like 10 years now. Like, we're literally each other's family, and I'm not just saying that. So I ended up being particularly close. Like, of course, I had other friends, but there's two friends who have really stayed in my life even 10 years later. Like I said, we know each other's families, our families know us, and a 10-year friendship. We're very close. But the other friend is Black Zambian, and the other friend is Caucasian. By the way, she's basically like she was raised here. Like, she's been here since she was a baby. Her older sisters were actually born here. Like, her family has been here for decades. She's as Zambian as the rest of us, but she's white. And then it made me realize that because of assimilating into this culture where I would hear what other black people would say and think about other races, I became quite conscious in my decisions, and I wasn't as carefree as I was when I was younger, when I was interacting with all sorts of races. And okay, so first, I keep mentioning this story time. Yes, so in fact there's a whole bunch of story times, but with regards to racial issues, there was a time, one particular incident where, in fact, I will start with college. So college times, we had this library thing where if you're late, returning a book, you had to pay 2 kwacha, and you literally had to line up at finance to pay a 2 kwacha because you were late. And I have told this story so many times, but today, like I know, like, my friends and family know this story, but now, like, I'm saying it from a different perspective where I actually feel ashamed. So the librarian was someone all of us hated. Like, I'm not just like people. If you're at Zikas, between 2009 and 2011, when I was like, if you remember that, if you remember that librarian, like none of us liked her. But anyways, we'd have to pay. Like even if we showed up on time and she had knocked off early or something, like if you come the next day, or if it was a Friday and you come on the Monday, like, she would charge us, those 2 kwachas, and we'd have to line up with everybody else to pay for that, and it was so annoying. And then my Caucasian friend never used to pay. Like, she never used to pay. She would show up, the lady would smile at her, she knew her name, and she'd be like, "Hi, darling, like, it's fine, you don't have to pay. You don't have to line up with the rest of the black people. I don't want to inconvenience you. Just make sure you bring it back next time." And then she did it a lot. Okay, not a lot, but a couple of times that, she was late, that always happened. And there was this one time, because I am petty, like, I am Miss Petty LaBelle. I was like, you know what? I'm late, let's go together. So we go to, so we show up the library together. I'm like, stand there. In fact, stand here. So I go first and I'm like, "Hi, here's my book." And she's like, "You're late. Go and pay 2 kwacha." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I step aside, and then my friend comes, to the front, and she does the exact same thing. Oh, but then she like she saw me standing there, like, and then she literally apologized, and she was like, "Sorry, my dear, today, like, I have to charge you, and you have to go." And I was like, wow. But I didn't say anything, right? So that's one instance. Second instance, with the same friend, because, yeah. Anyways, but now this is years later, right? So literally, me and this friend were buying a birthday present for my other friend, because, like, we're this trio. So it was my other friend's birthday, and we're in game, and we're looking for a watch. So, like, so my friend is like trying on one of the watches, and then I also have one. Like, I think one was silver, one was gold. So we're just looking at how it looked and everything, and the size and etc whatnot. And then the clasp on mine was kind of stiff, so I reached out to the attendant, who, by the way, as soon as we walked in, like, she was already, like, she had changed the accent a bit and was already giving a lot more attention to my non-black friend. So I was already catching feelings. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But then, so I reach out and I'm like, "Sis, like, this thing is a bit clutched, like, can you help me remove it?" And then she looks at me and she said in the most condescending way, you know, like if it, like anything happens to it, you're going to pay for it. And I was just like, what the actual F did you think I had come to do here in the first place? We're here to buy a watch. So that really upset me. I'm like, what do you think I'm doing here? Like, do you think, I don't know, like some street kid who picked up a tourist on the road and then brought them here to, like, I don't know, to like show them around game? Like, what do you think I'm doing here looking at like, what do you think I'm looking at these watches for? Like you think I don't have the capacity to buy them? But it was just, you know, that scenario. So in those instances, I would be angry at the other people for being ignorant or showing preference, coming from an ignorant place. But after today, I realized and I had to admit that most of my anger and my issue from that was that of jealousy. Okay, I'll just say it. And it took me years. Like, I've just realized that today it was jealousy. And it is just this huge epiphany. And now I will continue on that topic. Just give me a second. Like, this was very impromptu, so my battery's about to die, so I'll be back. Alrighty, let us continue. I think I left off saying something about jealousy. I went to charge my camera. But yes, if you're still here, I realized today that that was pure jealousy. And I will fast forward a bit, you know, because for the longest time, I just assumed people were ignorant, this and that. But really, what was going on? And for some of you who've been following, you're probably like, yeah, like we kind of guessed that right from the beginning. Why has it taken you so many years to realize that? But yes, I realized that I was jealous of the attention that they were getting. And if the tables were flipped, I probably wouldn't, you know, care. If I was getting the special treatment and, you know, if my friend was complaining about it, I would probably be like, oh, Shane, you know, like that sucks. And, you know, these people are ignorant. But I wouldn't necessarily want to change that about myself or the special treatment, because who doesn't want special treatment? Like, who doesn't want attention? So I feel like a huge part of, you know, my aggression and anger towards those type of situations was literally jealousy and seeing other people get attention that I wasn't. So yeah, I realized that, and I was very ashamed of myself in that moment today. And yes, moving on from that. So that was the first realization. Second thing, with regards to, I think I mentioned at some point that assimilating into this, okay, let me not say new, because I've grown up in a very black Zambian family, but for the most part, when you're interacting with peers, that's what I'm saying, you know, it was different when now, you know, even just like my work life, my social life, I was, like, it was, you know, it was in a very predominantly black, you know, environment. And like I said, I would hear what people would say about non-black people, and I was soaking it up subconsciously, and it made me conscious of decisions that I would make. What decisions, you ask? So I will give, you know, like a very basic example. When I was younger, like I said, primary school, high school, we'd hang out, we'd chill together outside of school, it was cool beans, whatnot. There wasn't really much of an issue that he wouldn't really care. But later on, you know, when I could hear what people would say and it was in my brain, there's just this stereotype or this thing. And even the same friends would say that, okay, the same people, I mean, not say friends, the same people who would say the most racist things about non-black people would also be the same people who would give anything to have a non-black associate. And even to this day, I still find situations where, like, you want to be seen with non-black people because you think it just ups your status, you know, in society. And because I knew that it's what people think or what people conclude when they see a group of people, if they see someone who's black and someone who's non-black, they just start drawing all these conclusions. So it made me very conscious of myself. And when I would hang out with people as we got older, so like I said, now, like, it's okay, let me stop saying, you know, let me stop rambling. But as I got older, you know, early 20s, right now I'm in my mid-20s, I have gotten to a point where I'm more comfortable hanging out with black people in public. Like, I'm very free, like I can walk around, there's no trouble because no one cares, like no one is going to look at you twice You can be free to do whatever you want. You can laugh, have fun, you can hold your friend, you can do whatever you want, you know, and no one cares. No one cares. But when I would hang out or meet up with my non-black friends, even to this day, but now, after I've come to this realization and I feel ashamed, I wonder if I'll actually change. There's just this thing where I'm already conscious, like I mentioned, like already people will treat you differently. People will do this whole thing where they ignore your existence or maybe just be condescending towards you and put your friend on a pedestal, and it just gets awkward. And I would rather hang out with non-black friends, maybe, you know, like in our own homes, or I know this sounds really bad, but I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. I do, like of course, like I'll meet up with non-black friends every now and then in public, but I'm still conscious of what's going on, and it happens, like it literally happens. You be walking around and people just do this thing where they look at the both of you, they size you up, they start trying to figure out why you're moving around with someone who's non-white, and it's just exhausting, to be honest. It's exhausting, and I just find it more comfortable, which is really bad, and it, like, I feel so ashamed saying it, but I'll just be honest about it. So that happens, you know, and it got to a point where I just felt more comfortable being in groups of 100% black people, if I can call it that, which is bad. It's really, really bad, because I actually cared and care about, you know, what the outside feels. And this, to be honest, probably has something to do with interracial relationships and what my stand is on them for myself, not others, but I will not get into that. But yeah, so there's that. And then I have, so like I said, I have those insecurities, you know. One, the whole jealousy thing, wanting attention. Two, feeling uncomfortable. And three, which is part of two, not wanting people to think that you're that chick. Like it's like, girl, you have so much pride, you want to be, you know, considered an equal, or to be someone who is just as important, but you don't want to look like that person who's being desperate, who wants attention because they have this non-black friend. I've been dealing with that insecurity for a very, very, very long time. And in my defense, I have been in certain situations where, you know, I actually proved this point right. And yes, okay, so there's acquaintances or whatnot who are out there, you know, former classmates who may be non-black, but there is one person who is a constant in my life, you know, like the friend that I mentioned. Like I said, there's like a trio of us. Okay, in fact, there's two other girls, but for the most part, the three of us stayed really close. And when I'm with that black friend, in fact, that friend, I won't say her name, but she's been on my vlogs a couple of times. Like, she's always, you know, yeah, like we take selfies all the time. Like, I feel so comfortable, you know, sharing, you know, pictures with me and her, and even just in vlogs, like we'll hang out and stuff like that. And I'll be like, hey, you know, she's like I don't even think twice putting her out there in front. And with my other friend, what would happen, or what tends to happen is that when pictures are going up, it's usually of the three of us together. And I feel so bad admitting this in public, but hopefully it will bring up, I don't even know if this discussion is even relevant or if it's important. I will probably put this video on private if I regret this, you know, a week from now. But hopefully, you know, it can bring up a discussion and maybe someone can relate to what I'm saying. But, you know, I have no qualms just, you know, showing like my life with my black friend. But then with regards to my white friend, part of it is being protective, because there have been times where I would want to bring her along to certain events, but I know she's going to stick out like a sore thumb, and then people will be on her. Guys would be like, oh, I want a white wife, like to her face, or maybe not. Or people would just do this thing where, you know, there's this, but you know that I'm talking about, that there's that scenario, one. Two, I don't know how to put it, but it's, you know, it just gets awkward, you know, it gets awkward. And there have been times where maybe I would like, maybe like on my own personal WhatsApp, maybe like I'll put a picture up, like on her birthday, like I feel so bad. And if she's watching this, first of all, like, she knows I love her. Like, you know I love you. Deep, honestly, truly, from deep down in my heart. And you know how I ramble and I say things all the time. So yeah, like, you love me. You have no choice but to love me. But yes, it was her, like on her birthday sometimes, right? Because, you know, like each year, like I'll get new friends, new acquaintances. I'll put a picture up with me and her, or maybe just her. And there always be someone in my DMs asking, you know, like, like all the time, you know. And then there were instances where, you know, in the past, I may mention to my new friends, you know, like of course, like these two friends are quite close. By the way, I have a whole high school squad. Like you guys have met my high school squad and primary school squad, like, you know, cool beans. But like for college, so I mentioned these two friends to my, because, you know, we'll be making plans or whatnot. So my colleagues or just my other, you know, acquaintances or friends know their names, because I'm always talking about them. But oh, like I'm texting so and so they know their names. And then the couple of times when maybe by chance they've met my friends, I purposely don't even mention that fact. Like, I got to this point where, like, I wouldn't even mention that fact, because I wouldn't want people to first think of her as that before anything else. And there's always this look of shock when she shows up to a house, or like maybe she's dropping me off or picking me up, or I'm meeting somewhere, and they're like, oh my goodness, this whole time you're talking about her like she was black. She's actually white. So just things like that, you know. And for the record, not only her, but just everyone else, you know, on my channel, on my feed, on Instagram, I have realized that subconsciously, I don't tend to put, you know, okay, this is, like I really need to think carefully about saying this, but I've noticed that most of my feed is with me and my black associates. Very rarely do I put non-black associates. And watching that, okay, let me just conclude because this will be too long. And watching that Red Table Talk made me realize that I have some serious issues that I need to work on, and it's unfair. It's based off of insecurity, jealousy, etc, whatnot, and caring about things that I really shouldn't care about. But it was just sad to realize. And I was complaining about that video being like a mess and confusing and all over the place. Even this video has been just as bad, but hopefully you pick something out of this. In conclusion, I hope I can change. I hope I don't care as much in the future, and even if people do stuff like that, I shouldn't really let it control me. If I'm walking out in public, like, I just need to think of mechanisms where I actually don't care, because why do I care anyways? But yeah, hello random, thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Wow, it was so random, but all my chit chats are random. But yes. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching. Please comment if you can relate to this, or you have something to add on to this, and even your own personal experiences. And literally, you could be in the States, you could be in Europe, you could be in Africa. Let me know, especially Zambia, if you can relate to what I'm saying, and how do you handle such situations. And hopefully we can all change, you know, with regards to this thing. But it's not as easy, because people do these things and say certain things from their own place. They have their own story as to why they do stuff like that or react that way. So let me not say let's change overnight. It's probably going to be like a far deeper discussion. But yeah, but for this and my perspective, I think I will seriously end here now. And yes, thanks for watching. I'll say that for the last time, and I will see you in the next one.